Hey, welcome up everybody. Dr. LeGrand here. Today we're going to be talking about the right and wrong ways to do fasting for your brain. Now, you maybe have a thought about fasting and possibly of losing weight, but there are so many benefits of using fasting that can optimize our brain. It certainly has shown research that it can help with the functionality of our brain to improve basically cognition, to improve our memory, as well as recall. So the reason why it does this is because it increases levels of what we know as BDNF, also known as brain-derived neurotrophic factors. When those levels are increased, those are actually parts of the brain that helps with neurogenesis. And it specifically helps in parts of the brain that does help with memory, recall, and cognition. So this is why you should be looking into possibly using fasting to improve optimizing your brain and not just using it as a way to losing weight. So I want to kind of talk about what are the wrong mistakes that people make when they are doing fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting or long durations of fasting, and then what is the right way to be able to do that. So let's dive in that real quick. So I'm going to switch over to my whiteboard here real fast. So let's first talk about the mistakes that I commonly see a lot of people do this all the time when they are typically doing fasting. So a lot of people who do intermittent fasting, yeah, they'll do 16-8 where they're going to fast for 16 hours and then eat in an 8-hour window frame. But what if you're doing something like 24-hour fast or 36-hour fast? What are some common mistakes that I see that a lot of people who come to see me, and I've been doing fasting for many, many years and I do recommend it a lot to my patients if it does make sense. So the biggest first one is really starting out too fast. So usually when people are thinking about fasting, like, oh, I want to lose weight, or there's all these great benefits, increasing autophagy, which autophagy is a great anti-aging property that increases 400% when you're in a fasted state. So people go really extreme. Well, they'll do like, go right to doing a 36 or 48-hour fast, or sometimes really crazy where they'll try to do a 7-day water fast, which I don't recommend doing, especially right from the get-go, is you got to start out slow. So how do you start out slow? So if you've never done fasting before, where you should be starting at is doing something like the 16-8. Now, what is the 16-8? 16-8 is where you're fasting for 16 hours and you're eating an 8-hour window frame. This is the very basic level of doing intermittent fasting. Then you build up to that. So as you are doing that every day and you do it for a couple weeks, then you could start doing like a 24-hour fast. Then maybe a 36-hour fast. Okay, so you're slowly building up to this, and then you could probably do it, once or twice a week, but you're slowly building up to it. So the biggest mistake is when people are going and jumping this too fast, then they start dealing with symptoms such as headaches, fatigue, extreme fatigue. They start dealing with brain fog. They start dealing with heart palpitations. They start dealing with some, hunger pains, or even just stomach and digestive pains when they are going too fast. Now, when you've been doing it for a while, your body starts adapting and you start realizing that you do have more energy while you're fasting. You are more focused when you're fasting. And the reason why you are more focused is because your body has started to switch over to using fat as fuel versus sugar as fuel, because you reach a state of ketosis when you have reached to 24 hours plus, also increasing levels of autophagy, and you find that you are more focused and productive when you are fasting because you don't have to worry about having breakfast or lunch. You can just continue on working and being more productive. But it takes time to adapt that, especially you got to slowly do it this way. The other big mistake that people do is breaking their fast wrong. So typically, if you're going to fast for 24 hours, when people go and break their fast, they're thinking of all these foods that they want to eat. And they'll go have a nice big burger, fries, or pizza, or go out to eat and eat all these foods. That is the wrong thing to do, because what's going to happen is actually a bigger mistake to doing that versus just not fasting at all. Because what happens is your body has not been digesting foods for 24 hours or so, and it takes a while to get it to wake up the digestive juices. So you want to eat something small and simple, but you don't want to eat processed stuff, especially things that are high in sodium and sugar. That is going to really create an influx and a shock to the system. That is something you definitely do not want to do. So what you need to be doing, and I'll talk about what you should be doing, but that is something to definitely not be doing. So I'll be talking about here in a second what you should be doing as far as what you should be consuming to breaking your fast. The other thing is, like I mentioned here a little bit, is eating too much at one time. When you eat too much all at once, not a good situation, because what is happening is, since you haven't been eating for 24 hours, the digestive enzymes and everything is kind of relaxed because you haven't been eating something. And when you eat something way all too much, you're going to have probably diarrhea. You're going to have digestive upsetness. You're going to have a lot of different cramping going on when you are eating all at once. It's a big shock to the system that you just definitely don't want to be doing. The other thing is also taking things that can break a fast. So when you're in the fasting period, when you're fasting, there's certain things that can break a fast. So let me kind of go over some of those. Big ones, a lot of people will ask me, can I take like coffee or can I take different juices while I'm fasting? Well, when you're doing a water fast, what it simply means, it's only water. That's it. Nothing else. Only water. The other thing is that you can, and I also encourage this, that you can take is electrolytes. Okay, electrolytes are important because that's one that is really depleted while you are fasting. So that's another big mistake that a lot of people don't. They don't take electrolytes while they are fasting. One of the biggest things that depletes in while you're fasting is magnesium. And so certainly taking magnesium is really important, but also sodium, potassium you should be taking. So a good one that I like and recommend is one by Keto Electrolytes by Trace Minerals. It's called Keto Electrolytes, one I like. It doesn't have any additive sugars, has no carbs, nothing. So it's perfect to take while you're fasting, so it keeps you in a fasted state. A big no-no is, any types of food, anything that has carbs or sugars is going to break your fast. Also, any amino acids. Now, why amino acids? Now, you could still do amino acids if you are only wanting to take the benefits of specifically taking the benefits of just ketosis. You'll still be in ketosis, still breaking down the fat cells, still breaking down the ketone bodies. That's great. But if you want to have the benefits of autophagy, now autophagy is what breaks down old dying cells, so simply just getting rust out of our body. So it creates room, so when we refeed, to actually increase stem cells. So brand new cells, so especially for the brain, having more neurogenesis, more brand new neurons, more brand new cells throughout our entire body. Specifically, you want to make sure you're not avoiding amino acids. At least that's what the research has been showing, that any kind of sense of nutrients, even amino acids, can shut off autophagy when you're in a fasted state. So that's something you should not be doing. Teas can be fine, but it can't have anything in it. So I'm talking about like herbal teas. That's okay. You could do 100% coffee if you want to. It has no additives because that can be a stimulant, but you got to be careful of overdoing caffeinated teas or caffeinated coffee, because then I would say keep it to 1 cup of coffee a day, but black coffee, no additives. Okay. So now what is the right way to be doing fasting? The big one that you really have to focus on is certainly you do need to be taking water. That is a huge thing that people make a mistake when they're fasting, is they're not getting enough water when they're fasting. And it's very important for the brain because the brain is made up of mostly fat and water. And when you are not taking water, you could find that you're going to have headaches, brain fog, and then you're not going to want to finish your fast. Along with water is also taking electrolytes. So if you're starting to get headaches, you probably need to be taking electrolytes and also water when you're fasting. So, and also with energy, if you're hitting those low fatigue, it's probably because you're not taking electrolytes. And that is very important and very key of when you are fasting. The other important thing is when you are doing your feeding time. So when you are not fasting, you need to be eating healthy foods in between your fasting periods. What's going to be important is trying to focus on more healthy proteins, fats, and also vegetables. Why this is important? Because if you are eating a high carb diet, guess what? It stores a lot in your liver and in your muscle tissue as glycogen storage. So it's going to take you longer to get into a fasted state of reaching autophagy and ketosis, because it first has to deplete all that glycogen storage that you've built up if you're on a high carb diet. So if you really want to increase the benefits of fasting, especially for your brain, because you want to increase those levels of autophagy, neurogenesis, you want to increase BDNF levels, all those things are going to benefit your brain when you are fasting, is you got to make sure in between your fasting stage periods on your feeding way is you have to be eating healthier foods. Exercise is another thing that is also a right way to be fasting. So when you are exercising, you could certainly have to build up to this. You can exercise while you're fasting. In fact, it will increase the levels of breaking down ketones. It also will increase human growth hormones because it already increases in a fasted state. But when you add exercise, same thing, it'll double that. So that's why exercise is really important to be doing exercise. A lot of people will just never exercise, even in between their fasting periods, but it's always important. Now, as far as what is the right way to break a fast, I already kind of mentioned this, but definitely healthy fats. That's one time healthy fats. Like this could be organic eggs, this can be hummus, this can be certainly fish and stuff like that. So these need to be healthier fats that you can consume, and then veggies. And then usually I will do these two first. And then after a couple hours later, I'll do healthy proteins. So about 2 hours later. About 2 hours later, then I'll add proteins. Now, the reason why I kind of wait a little bit on the proteins, now certainly eggs does have some proteins, but I'm talking about like meat, is because especially after 24 hours, your body takes a while. Proteins are the hardest to digest. So usually for me, I have a pretty sensitive stomach. I want to be able to allow my digestive juices to kind of start breaking down foods. And then once it's kind of woken up and ready to go, then I can add something like meats that are going to be easier to digest. Otherwise, I might have some symptoms of diarrhea and abdominal pain if I don't slowly do this. So you got to kind of keep that in mind when you are doing that. Those are the big things that you really have to really focus on as far as what is the right way and what is the wrong way to be fasting to optimizing your brain. But if you are trying to find better ways to have better focus and productivity, I certainly have a free guide in the description below that you can actually download. That free guide. It's in the description that goes over what labs you should be running to figure out why you have a focus and attention problem to begin with. Also, what foods you should be implementing, what foods you should be avoiding, and other supplements that can help have you have better focus. That's in the description below. And thank you guys for watching today. Until next time, this is Declan Grand signing out. Thanks. Bye.